5 years ago, my parents cut me out of their lives because my older sister told them I had dropped out of medical school, gotten involved with the wrong man, and lied to everyone who loved me. Last month, I was the trauma surgeon elbow deep in that same sister's abdomen, trying to keep her from dying while my mother sobbed my name in a hospital hallway. That is not the kind of irony you recover from quickly. Before I tell you how one lie turned into a 5-year burial and why the truth chose a 3 a.m. operating room to come back from the dead, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. I always read the comments on stories like this because the people who understand them usually understand them too well. Now, here's the part nobody sees when they hear the hospital version. This didn't start with Monica lying. It started years earlier, in a house where Monica never needed to lie because she already owned the room. She was my parents' firstborn, their social masterpiece, pretty without trying, funny on command, the kind of person who could walk into a parent-teacher conference and have 3 adults laughing before coats came off. Teachers loved her. Neighbors loved her. Cashiers remembered her, and my mother used to say Monica could sell sand in a desert and make people thank her for it. My father loved that line. He'd repeat it at barbecues like he was bragging about stock he'd bought early. And me, I was useful in quieter ways. I got good grades. I didn't make trouble. I disappeared into books. I cleaned up my own messes and most of Monica's. People love to romanticize the smart, quiet daughter as if silence is some noble personality trait. A lot of the time, silence is just what happens when a kid figures out nobody is listening anyway. I learned that early. When Monica had a school play, the entire family rearranged schedules. When I made the state science fair in 8th grade, my father forgot until the morning of because Monica had a Saturday matinee. He kissed the top of my head while tying his shoes and said, "We'll hear all about it tonight." He never asked. I came home with a second-place ribbon, set it on the kitchen counter, and watched my mother rush past me because Monica needed help taking bobby pins out of her hair. Little things like that don't break you in one dramatic snap. They sand you down slowly. You stop expecting applause. Then you stop expecting interest. Then eventually you stop expecting to matter in any visible way. So I did what kids like me do. I made myself measurable straight A's. AP Biology. AP Chemistry volunteer shifts. Summer research. MCAT prep binders stacked taller than my nightstand. If affection wasn't guaranteed, maybe achievement could force the issue. And for one brief, stupidly hopeful stretch of time, I thought it worked. The day my acceptance letter from Oregon Health and Science University came, my father actually sat down before opening it. That alone was unusual that he read it once. Then he looked at me, not through me. Not past me, at me. "Maybe you'll actually make something of yourself." Irene, I know that doesn't sound tender. It wasn't, but when you've spent your whole life living on scraps, even a stale crumb feels like a meal. My mother called 2 relatives that night. Dad mentioned it to neighbors. For the first time in 18 years, conversations in our house bent in my direction, and directly across the dinner table, Monica smiled just with her mouth. I missed what was happening because I was too busy enjoying the warmth. Monica, however, noticed something I didn't. Attention had shifted, only slightly. Only temporarily, but enough. Jealous people don't always attack immediately. The smart ones gather information first. The next few weeks, Monica became weirdly attentive. She called to ask how Portland felt, asked if med school was intimidating, asked who my professors were, asked who I studied with, asked whether I felt behind everyone else, asked if I was scared I wouldn't keep up. At 19, I thought, wow, my sister finally cares. At 32, I know an inventory when I see one. I gave her everything and why anxieties. My schedule, names of classmates, names of faculty, the fact that I was drowning half the time and pretending not to. I was so hungry for a sister that I mistook surveillance for love. Medical school itself nearly killed all sentimental instincts in me. It's not glamorous. It's fluorescent lights, caffeine, anatomy lab smell lodged permanently in your clothes, panic dreams about exams, and the dawning realization that every person around you was valedictorian somewhere. But there was one thing med school gave me that home never did. A clean scoreboard. Nobody cared who my sister was. Nobody cared whether I was charming at dinner parties. Nobody cared that I wasn't loud. You either knew the material or you didn't. For the first time in my life, effort translated directly into respect. I clung to that, and somewhere in that grind, I met Sarah Mitchell. Sarah had bounced through foster homes her entire childhood and had the kind of humor people develop when life has already punched them enough times. That politeness feels unnecessary. She was sharp, blunt, funny, and impossible to impress, which meant she was impossible to lie to. The first time I told her one of my funny family stories, the kind I'd learned to package with a smile so it sounded harmless, she looked at me over microwaved ramen and said, "Irene, that's not a quirky family dynamic. That's favoritism with better furniture." I laughed. She didn't. That was Sarah. She recalibrated reality.by third year. She was my roommate, my best friend, and the only person on earth who could tell I was spiraling before I said a word. Then she started getting stomach pain. At first, we blamed med school lifestyle, because med students are professionally stupid when it comes to our own health. Then she started losing weight. Then she collapsed in the apartment bathroom. 3 scans later, we were in an oncology office looking at images we both understood far too quickly. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The oncologist kept talking. Neither of us really heard him. Sarah stared at the scan for a long second and muttered, "Well, that's rude." I laughed because she needed me to. Then I went into the hallway and threw up into a trash can. She had no family, no parents worth calling. No siblings showing up heroically from out of state. Nobody, just me, and this is where I made the decision my sister would eventually weaponize like a knife. The next morning I went to the dean. I requested a formal caregiver leave of absence for 1 semester. Everything documented, everything signed, everything approved. Why place in the program secured for spring. It was responsible. The IT was transparent. It was the kind of bureaucratic process universities literally have in place for situations like this. I was not dropping out, I was stepping away to help my best friend die with one familiar face in the room. And because I was still naive enough to think blood meant something, I called Monica. I told her everything. Sarah's diagnosis, the leave, the paperwork. The January return. Monica went quiet in that syrupy way people do when they're manufacturing concern. Oh my God, Irene, that's awful. I remember sitting on the edge of Sarah's bed while chemo medication dripped into her forehead. I remember Monica lowering her voice like we were sharing something sacred. "Don't worry about Mom and Dad. I'll smooth it over if they get nosy." I thanked her. This is the embarrassing part of the story. I thanked her. 3 days later, my father called at 11 at night. I was in a hospital chair. Sarah was asleep behind a curtain after a brutal chemo reaction. The hallway smelled like antiseptic and overbrewed coffee. "Dad didn't say hello. Your sister told us what's really going on." I stood up so fast the chair tipped backward. "What are you talking about?" "You dropped out. You've been lying to us. Monica says there's a man involved and you've been covering for him for months." For a second, I genuinely thought he had the wrong daughter. "Dad, none of that is true. Monica showed us proof." To this day, I still don't know what exact fake screenshots, edited messages, or invented witness statements she manufactured, but she came armed enough that my father was speaking in verdicts, not questions. My mother got on the line crying, "How could you humiliate us like this?" Humiliate. Interesting word. I hadn't heard concern in either of their voices, just embarrassment. That should have told me everything, but panic makes you stupid. I started talking too fast. "No, listen, I took a medical leave. It's official. I can send the dean's paperwork. I can give you phone numbers. I can." Dad cut me off. "Monica said you'd have an explanation ready." That sentence still chills me. Do you hear what it means? Before I ever defended myself, Monica had already coached them to distrust the defense. She didn't simply tell a lie. She built a trapdoor underneath the truth. I pressed my hand against the hospital wall because suddenly the floor didn't feel stable. "Call the dean," I said. "Please." "Call him. Verify it." Dad's voice turned glacial. We are not calling strangers to find out whether our own daughter has become a liar. Then call me a liar after you verify me, I begged. My mother was crying harder now. Irene, we cannot do this right now. You are doing this right now, I said. Silence. Then my father. Do not contact this family again until you're ready to be honest. And he hung up. 4 minutes. 4 minutes to lose the only people who were supposed to know me before asking a single independent question. I stood in that hallway staring at my black phone screen so long a nurse asked if I was okay. I said yes. People say yes in the strangest moments. 20 minutes later, Monica texted, "I'm sorry, Irene. I couldn't protect your secret anymore." Broken heart emoji. I looked at that message and felt something cold move through me. Not grief exactly, not yet. Recognition. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't Monica blurting something reckless. This had planning in it. Timing. Architecture. Because while I was sleeping in hospital chairs and learning medication schedules and helping Sarah hold down ice chips, my sister had apparently been building a version of me ugly enough for my parents to bury without asking where the body was. I slid down the hallway wall and sat on the floor. Behind me, Sarah's monitor kept beeping steadily. One woman I loved was dying by inches in room 412. 3,000 miles away, another woman with my face had just started dismantling my life. And Monica was nowhere near done.